I've worked on a lot of projects on advanced travel demand modeling, specifically activity-based modeling type projects. Uh, the focus here has been on methods as well as applications in the context of Florida, and a lot of these projects have been supported by the Florida Department of Transportation. A related area is trying to capture the effects of land use on all the transportation choices. So we've been working quite extensively trying to uh, build models in which we are able to capture um, the context in which people are making the choices, try to capture the effects of various land use configurations. So that has been one major stream of research, and one particular application has been um, to use these models to come up with estimates of vehicle miles traveled. So that's one of the things that we consider. Um, a third stream has been in the use of technology for transportation, and one of the areas that we've been using is the use of GPS to track people, get information on the paths or the tracks that they traversed, and then try to use those again to build models for route choice. How do people decide on the route to get from a place to one place to another? We all know that travel time is very important. We don't want to travel a lot of time, but what about other factors? Do people want to avoid a lot of turns? Fourth stream of research would be safety, where we've been helping Florida Department of Transportation calibrate some of the equations in the highway safety manual, which came out pretty recently. So adjust these equations so that they can be applied in a Florida context. One of the most recent projects that we've started, actually very recently, is one on automated vehicles. And the focus of this is to try to help Florida Department of Transportation formulate policies moving forward. So this is a fairly new technology, or fairly new system of technologies, and it's growing quite rapidly. And Florida is one of only 4 states in the country which even allows testing of these technologies on its roadways. So as a state, Florida is quite interested in promoting new technologies and use that technologies to improve its transportation system. What impact does this work have on the industry? One could broadly classify it into soft impacts and hard impacts. Hard impacts are the kind where a product is directly utilized immediately and then it's being applied for certain purposes. So one example that I would give in terms of these direct impacts is the work on the highway safety manual calibrations. There is a manual which was very recently published. There are equations in the manual, but there has to be some adjustments to it before these can be used for safety project evaluations in Florida. And our work essentially led to those adjustment factors, or at least the preliminary versions of those adjustment factors. And so as Florida is implementing the use of highway safety manual, our adjustments to those equations are used in the field, so that kind of helps make all these equations to some extent Florida specific, so that they can be used directly. So that's one of a very direct a product being utilized more directly. In the area of planning, I would say the impacts have been more soft impacts. Florida has transitioned to activity-based modeling methods to a reasonable extent. 3 of the major metropolitan areas, Jacksonville, Tampa, and Miami, have moved to these advanced methods for for their subsequent long-range transportation planning processes. And all this has happened in the very recent past. I think this move is also being facilitated by a lot of research in the area of activity-based modeling that has been happening at Florida and elsewhere. Mm-hmm. So the profession is getting a lot of is getting a little bit more comfortable with some of these advanced methods once they see a lot more of results coming out and consistent results coming out in terms of these methods and applications. And the more and more of that we see from the researchers, I think that the sense of comfort it generates ultimately leads to the practitioners trying to adopt these methods on a trial basis, and then ultimately to a more widespread adoption. So I would say, yeah, there's these two kinds of ways in which things have been impacted at this point.
Okay.